반갑습니다. 비트세븐입니다. 캐시우드가 야후 파이낸스에 나와서 인터뷰를 합니다. 앵커가 물어봅니다. 캐시야 축하한다. 너 아크 회사가 비트코인 현물 ETF가 당첨된 거 엄청 축하해. 지금 ETF 현물 회사들이 많은데 어떻게 해서 그 많은 회사에서 경쟁해서 이길 수가 있는지 물어봤습니다. 그러자 우리 돈나무 언니 캐시우드가 우리 아크는 구조 시스템이 굉장히 강해라고 했고, 그 다음에는 아크인베스트 같은 경우는 지금 11년째 웹사이트 유튜브와 비슷하게 브레인스토밍 화이트 페이퍼 이런 곳에 매달마다 영상을 만들어서 업로드를 하고, 그리고 빠르고 좋은 정보들을 무료로 제공하는 플랫폼을 구축했다. 그래서 이런 것들을 전체적으로 봤을 때 아크인베스트먼트가 다른 회사들보다 투명하게 보여주면서, 또한 수수료 면에서 아크는 많은 투자자분들을 위해서 수수료를 굉장히 싸게 측정을 했다라고 말하면서, 또 앵커가 엊그제 뱅가드가 비트코인 현물 ETF 금지를 시켰는데 이것에 대해서 어떻게 생각하냐고 물어봅니다. 그래서 캐시는 그것은 정말 큰 실수다. 지금 비트코인은 기술적으로 중요한 시점에 놓아져 있다. 그런데 뱅가드가 그렇게 조치를 한 거는 먼 미래를 보지 못하는 거라고 합니다. 캐시우드 인터뷰를 바로 들어보겠습니다.
Trading. Founder and CEO of ARK Invest, CathieWood, is joining us now to talk about it. Cathie, first of all, congratulations both to you and to the crop of folks who are starting trading today. I know it's been a big effort on the part of the industry to get this thing up and running. So we are seeing a lot of volumes, a lot of people come into this today. Now there's competition between these ETFs. So how do you expect things to kind of shake out here?
Well, thank you, Julie. Happy New Year. Very happy to see you and Josh. Yes, typically in a situation like this where there are a lot of competitors, the market consolidates. So we would expect that to happen. We hope and trust that we will be one of the winners. And I think from our point of view, we have some competitive advantages. A lot of people are talking about fees, and I'll get to that. But there are three competitive advantages that I think are very important. One is our infrastructure and operations. Our partner 21 Shares has built this infrastructure and been operating 40 different funds through booms and busts, through halvings and forks and airdrops, and and through periods that the ETF industry just has never seen. So our infrastructure is battle tested. The second is research. As you know, we give all of our research away. Our first blog on Bitcoin was the year of our founding, 2014. Our first white paper, Bitcoin, Could It Serve the Three Roles of Money? We did in collaboration with Art Laffer in 2015, and we gained our first exposure in Bitcoin at $250 and have never left it. We think the story has just begun. So we've been putting prolific research out there, and now we have a Bitcoin monthly report and a Bitcoin brainstorm monthly. So we continue to give our research away, as does our partner 21 Shares. And then the third, and this is not to be underestimated, the third competitive advantage we have is a sales force that started selling our exposure to Bitcoin in 2016. That's when we partnered with Resolute Investment Management. And I remember in the early days, they were saying, oh my goodness, what is this? What's Bitcoin? And so they had to figure out what Bitcoin was, and they paid a lot of attention to our research, and they have developed conviction. I mean, Bitcoin's been a marvelous investment.
Yes, although sometimes a white knuckle one, as it has gone up and down. You said at the beginning that you hope that you will be one of the winners here. I mean, if you look out a year, 5 years from now, do you think there will be 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs? Do you think some of them will have closed?
I don't think there will be 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs. Some may close, some may be consolidated into bigger companies. The more pure play companies may be bought out by the larger players who need more of that expertise in-house. So I do think the process of closing and consolidation will take us down to 3, maybe 4, but more likely 3.
And you were talking about the reasons that people might want to buy your product over some of the others. But as you know, a lot of people are going to look at the fees and they're going to gravitate towards the cheaper end of the spectrum. You guys are on the cheaper end of the spectrum. Is that a big selling point as well?
Yes, well, at 21, and that has significance. Our partner is
Right.
21 shares. And of course, the number of Bitcoin that will ever be minted will not go past 21 million. So some significance there. We are not looking to maximize profit on this spot Bitcoin ETF. We are looking at Bitcoin as a public good. It is essentially, from a technology point of view, going to be the financial superhighway of the internet. This is this blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain technology is what the developers did not build into the internet in the early days, in the early 90s. Why? Because no one ever dreamed that commerce or financial services would take place on this network. Now, finally, we're going to have a native currency in the internet, and it will take out a lot of middlemen because it is a peer-to-peer network. So we want to give investors as much access and exposure to Bitcoin. We don't want fees to get in the way. And of course, ETFs are extremely accessible. So we're pretty excited to be part of the ecosystem and offering a spot Bitcoin ETF.
Yeah, that's really interesting what you're saying about the motivation behind doing this. I am curious, Cathy, how you're invested then in Bitcoin right now, right? I know, of course, that you have exposure through companies like Coinbase, which is the top holding in your benchmark fund. Block at number 6, also a way to get into that. You used to own shares in Grayscale, which is now one of your competitors in the spot Bitcoin ETF market. So I know you love Bitcoin, right? So what are the ways, besides what I mentioned, that you're getting exposure right now?
Well, you'll see that we did, even before today, we scaled out of GBTC as the discount narrowed so dramatically into ProShares Bitcoin futures. So let's say as a first stop, I can't talk about what we are doing or are going to do in the future, but logic would suggest that we'd be making another move at some point. So that we will not lose exposure to Bitcoin. We're probably more excited about the possibility of price appreciation now that despite the controversy, the SEC has given a spot Bitcoin ETF the green light. I think finally institutions will feel more comfortable stepping in. And what's so interesting right now is that already outstanding, there are, I think it's 19.6 million Bitcoin. There will never be any more than 21 million. 15 million of that 19.6 are in what we call strong hands. Their wallets have not moved Bitcoin in 155 days or more. That's 75% of the outstanding. So now we believe there's going to become, as institutions enter, real scarcity value. And each dollar moving in will have more of an outsized impact now than it did before we got the green light.
Cathy, I want to ask you about one institution that still doesn't want anything to do with these products, and that's Vanguard, which told us in a statement that the spot Bitcoin ETF will not be available for purchase on the Vanguard platform. And we're talking about an institution with, what, $7 trillion under management. What do you make of that decision?
Well, consider the source, of course. I think it's a terrible decision. I think it's a strategic blunder. And what Vanguard is doing is basically saying, the world's not going to change. These new financial rails are not going to be successful. We're still going to have 7 middlemen between merchants and consumers, each one taking a toll. And we just don't think that's going to prove correct. Truth always wins out. Innovation solves problems. There's a lot of friction in the financial system. And we believe that Bitcoin, blockchain technology generally are going to take a lot of the friction out of the system. The other reason I think this is a terrible mistake is, they're going to deprive the investors who stay with them of really the first global decentralized, private, no government oversight, rules-based, critical phrase there, monetary policy, monetary system in history. My mentor, Art Laffer, you may know him from the Laffer curve. He's also a monetary scholar. He said, this is what I have been waiting for 50 years since they closed the gold window in 1971. He is so excited about this new asset class. And that is the other mistake I think that Vanguard is making. It's depriving its clients of access to a new asset class. And what do we know about new asset classes? Well, if it's truly non-correlated or exhibits very low correlation of returns to other assets, then what a diversification into this new asset class will enable is increased return per unit of risk. That I think that advisors have a fiduciary responsibility to look at this new asset class, and to the extent they're working with Vanguard, they will be prohibited. So again, I think it's a strategic blunder, but again, we're all about disruptive innovation. That's all we do.
Right.
This is the most profound disruptive innovation taking place in the world today.
Cathie, as you look ahead, and I know you've got some big numbers and projections for Bitcoin. I believe 600,000 per Bitcoin is your base case here. What's the biggest risk to Bitcoin prices?
Well, yes, our base case is roughly 600,000. Our bull case, and we think the probability of the bull case has gone up now that institutions have the green light. Our bull case is closer to $1.5 million in the next 10 years. So what the biggest risk we were running was our regulators chasing innovation from American shores. And so that was the biggest risk we were concerned about. I think after 2022 and all the crises we saw back then, including the bankruptcy and unwinding an ultimate bankruptcy of FTX, that actually proved the case for Bitcoin. You know, it was interesting. Sam Bankman-Fried did not like Bitcoin. Why didn't he like it? Well, it's a completely decentralized network. It's completely transparent. You can watch wallets move Bitcoin from one address to the other. And you look at FTX, it was completely centralized, completely opaque, and it turns out completely fraudulent. So I think in terms of the risks to Bitcoin, the regulators have been so staunchly opposed, mostly Gary Gensler, I would submit, but there is another regulator opposed, that I think we have studied and done as much due diligence about the health of this network. That's why we put out a Bitcoin monthly, that it would be very difficult to perpetrate fraud in the base layer of Bitcoin. Any of the hacks you've heard about are on applications built on top of the base layer, and those are software errors that enable the hackers in. But the base layer, which is the monetary system, after all, has not been hacked. So I think that the regulators, while it was very frustrating, and while the courts had to make some rulings in here, the regulatory resistance, I think, has hard-coded, if for want of a better word, the security and safety of the network.
Yeah, well, we'll see how the trajectory goes now that we have these new products. Cathie Wood of ARK Invest, thank you so much for joining us to talk us through the new products and what might happen with prices. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Julie. I always love being on your show. You do great research. Thank you.
영상이 도움이 되셨다면 구독과 좋아요 부탁드리겠습니다. 비트세븐이었습니다. 감사합니다.